Hi, I'm Melissa Gates from Hat to Hem, and today we're painting a wall when I'm done my ice cream. So for anyone who missed it, we have a new addition coming to the family in 5.5 weeks. So I figured now is probably a good time to paint the baby's room. Now for normal people that would take what, a day, maybe two? But I'm not normal. I have big plans for this room, including a big mural on this wall, which is currently a not particularly pleasant shade of brown. And the plan is that I'm going to do a big mural that's all inspired by Disney's It's a Small World. It's going to be 90% me painting rather than my husband. He will do the other walls, but this one's mine. So we'll see how that goes. Now obviously this is not going to take 5.5 weeks. Actually, my actual deadline for this is a little under 1 week. You see, today is Sunday, and next Sunday is my baby shower. And during that, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and my husband are going to be laying new carpet in this room. So we figured it makes sense for the painting to be done. It's just a matter of getting it done. So today's big goal is to just kind of block off the big areas. I have a sky and I have grass. And obviously I'll have It's a Small World facade in the middle. But I figured I can get the sky done today, if I'm really good. And just kind of mark where the grass is going to be, just so we have an idea of what needs paint and what doesn't. Because I don't want to paint the whole wall and then paint over 75% of it in a different color. Alright, so my ice cream's done. So I guess it's time to break out a pencil and a ruler and get going. For the record, this was not full when I started. Just in case anybody was wondering. Oh, you might be interested to know that I had a unexpected setback before I even got started because my paint pants did not fit me. They fit me last year and I knew they wouldn't fit the belly, but they ended up not even getting past my thighs, so I had to improvise a little bit. So I'm going to be sewing in these Grinch covered pajama pants. Okay, now let's get started. So the very first thing I did is I marked my center point on the wall, and I'm going to draw a line straight up to the ceiling so I know exactly where the center of my mural is going to be. And even if I center the crib on this wall, I should still have enough clearance for the door, which is obviously very important. And I have my level here, so I can try and make sure I am doing this in a straight line. We shall see how that goes. That's close enough to the ceiling. So there's an outlet on the wall, and as you can see, the previous owners just kind of painted around it, which frankly is par for the course when it comes to outlets in this house. In our bedroom there was actually a big ring of just not painted area right around the outlet. They clearly just didn't want to deal with it. Except for painting this part. I just noticed that seems like a safety hazard. I'm gonna cross that bridge when I come to it, because this video is about painting, not dealing with electrical issues. So I decided I want this outlet to be kind of within the grass area. So I measured it here. It's going to be a bunch of squares. So I figured if I make it 16 inches, I can do about 9-ish squares going right across this wall, which I think sounds like it could be decent. And then this would sit right smack in one of the squares instead of having one go right through it. So I think that might be what I go with. Alright, so the first 3 squares are done. I figured the best course of action was to start in the center and work my way outward. That way, if the last couple of squares aren't exactly 16 inches or anything like that, it's not a big deal. Quite frankly, it shouldn't be a big deal to begin with. I think I might be going a little crazy with this. Oh well. And we are all taped off. So I drew a very faint outline along the wall. Now this is by no means what the actual shape is going to be. However, it is like roughly the dimensions that I had to work with. So at least gives us an idea of where to paint to. So then this entire middle bit will stay brown for now until I figure out exactly how I want the outline to be. Alright, I guess it's time to mix some paint. The idea is the paint will be a bit darker towards the bottom and lighter towards the top. So my husband's going to paint the first 16 inches along the top because I really shouldn't be on the stepladder more than I absolutely need to be. And quite frankly, I shouldn't absolutely need to be at all. So he'll be painting the top with the lighter shade of blue that I'm going to mix. And then I will be painting the bottom to the middle and hopefully making them match up at some point. Alright, time to mix some paint. For the record, I'm trying to be as safe about this as possible. I have both windows to this room open and I have a respirator as suggested by multiple articles that I read online. So baby and I should be perfectly safe while painting this room. Because I wanted to have a gradient for the walls, I needed 3 colors. A darker teal, a lighter teal, and a teal between the two. I opted to buy a gallon of the darker teal and mix it with white to get the lightest teal. Once Evan painted the top edge of the wall, I was able to paint the rest of the top the lightest teal. Once that was done, I painted the bottom of the sky area with the darkest teal. The only reason I used a brush was that I didn't want to dirty another roller. So, yeah, no special reason behind that choice beyond laziness. Once the top and bottom were painted, I mixed the 2 teals together to get the medium teal, which went in the middle of the wall. I then did my best to blend the colors together using a brush. The results varied, but that's okay. Alright, it's the next day, and the wall is dry. The gradation isn't quite as smooth as I was hoping for, but that's okay. For the really rough areas, I can just cover that up with a cloud. I'm not going to stress over it because I don't have a lot of time. So today's goal is to get this center bit outlined and hopefully painted. So we will see how that goes. And then over here we have my inspiration for this mural. I am not going this nuts because no. But I do have this center tower all sketched out based off of what the actual ride looks like. So hopefully I can get this bit closer to being done today. I have some of my paints over here. So we have that purpley color, the light blue, the orange, and yellow. I also have this beigey color that we might end up using on the other 3 walls because I meant to get a quart and I ended up with a gallon, so I might as well use it. But we'll see how it looks with the actual mural and see if it actually ends up being a good fit. Alright, I better get sketching. To help with my circles, I tied a pencil to the end of a piece of ribbon, held the other end where I wanted the center of the circle to be, and then tried to use it like a compass. It wasn't neat, but it was effective. Alright, it's a little hard to see, but I have the entire outline sketched out. It did not take long at all. It took maybe 20 minutes, probably a little less. And I really want to paint it just so I have an idea of what this is going to look like. But in my heart, I know it makes more sense to wait until I get the rest of it sketched out, so that I can kind of focus on one color at a time, like a paint by numbers. And that's annoying because I really want to work on it, but it is what it is. All right, let's figure out the rest. All right, you can barely see it, but the outline is done. And now I get to do the fun part, painting it all in. Because my mural was meant to be a tribute to Mary Blair's style, the mural consists of flat shapes and bold colors, though I did mix in some pastels as well. Since the paint was a bit expensive, I ended up not buying extra brushes. Instead, Evan and I laid down the base layer of color using sponge brushes. I had a bunch of them on hand. They made a clean line and covered the space quickly, but the paint was a bit on the thin side. Still, they did the job and let us work simultaneously later that evening, which helped save time. An additional coat was added later using a brush that we already had. The outline was completely drawn out, and the baseline of the yellow sections was done in time for dinner. Later that night, I tackled the pink areas while Evan painted the blue areas. We were so focused that not much filming was done, but we got so much work done that I can't complain. It is such a beautiful day today. It almost feels like a shame to be inside painting. But we need to get this done. I'm very happy with how it's turned out so far. Today's goal is to get the rest of the colors up on the wall. Even if I have to do a couple extra coats, just getting the color up will be a big deal. So, let's go. Alright, it's day 3, and we have pretty much all the colors on the wall, which is very exciting. So today's plan is to go through with a real brush, not a sponge brush, and just kind of go over some of the areas, give them an extra coat, because the brush is working a lot better than a sponge brush, which is not exactly a surprise. But the sponge brushes did serve their purpose, which is important. So I'm going to be touching up some colors. I think I'm going to start with the beige, move on to the pink that was supposed to be purple but is totally pink, and then the blue, and then finish off with orange, I think. But first, I need to draw on the walls a bit more. Alright, I just drew a couple more things here because it was really bothering me that I had all this white space. So I have a little windmill here, and I have some little triangles over here. And hopefully that will make those two areas look a little less empty. Hopefully. It was around this point that I realized this beige wouldn't work on the other 3 walls. It was darker than I had wanted, and we didn't have enough white paint left to lighten it and paint the trim. Luckily, Evan came up with a solution. Since we had a lot of teal paint left over, he suggested painting one wall with the teal before we went out to buy a new paint color for the remaining walls. We ended up loving the color so much that he painted all 3 walls teal. I definitely think it was the right call. I added a few more pops of orange throughout the mural to balance out a bit more. Once that was done, I could finally start adding details. I opted not to do the face in the middle of the clock. I have always been a bit of a chicken, and I know having a face above my bed would have scared me when I was little. Just in case my son is as much of a scaredy cat as I was, am, I opted to go with some safe mid-century modern inspired lines. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Things are mostly painted. Evan went around and painted all the trim earlier. He also painted these squares for me along the bottom. So today's plan is I'm going to add some shapes to the brown squares and also put in some trees to cover up some little problem areas on each side. I also might paint some clouds, but I'm not 100% sold on that yet. Alright, so let's get going. For the bushes, I did a base coat in brown and then a top coat in green, blending the two together. This is more my style than the flat, bold colors of Mary Blair, but I think that's okay. My cloud designs were heavily based on Mary Blair's concept art for Cinderella. They're also a nod to Lady and the Tramp. The lullaby Darling sings to their newborn mentions a pink cloud. We both love Lady and the Tramp. Also, I know this sounds insane, but the live action version is Maisie's favorite movie. She actively watches it whenever I put it on for her. So, yeah, big fans of Lady and the Tramp in this house. So, after 4 days of painting, the mural was done! We still have some touch-ups to do with the trim and the other walls, but the mural itself is done. I am so happy with it. I've never done a wall mural before, and it's really satisfying that it ended up looking the way I pictured it. I feel like the grass and the trees anchor the It's a Small World facade. I didn't want it to just be floating there on the wall. I'm also so glad I decided to do the clouds, since I think they're my favorite part of the whole mural. I know this is a big departure from my usual content, but if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. We have a bit more work to do, including some DIY projects, so let me know in the comments if you'd be curious to see how the finished Disney-inspired nursery turns out. And I'll see you next time. Bye!